Good morning, everybody. It's Barb Katie here, and I have friends with me this morning. And these are not friends from low places, these are friends from high places and from all over the U.S. and Canada. I've asked them to come in and have a chat with all of us this morning on the first meeting of the month of June, and I'm delighted to introduce them. These are people I have known for a period of time and look forward to knowing even better. The first person, and as I introduce you, if you could wave or hit your little reaction button so they'll know which one of you it is, that would be helpful, is Sandy Wilson. Sandy comes from the state of Michigan. And Sandy, you want to show them where you live?
Right there.
She lives down in the mitten. Sandy also originally came from the state of West Virginia, which is why she gets to go first this morning, since I'm down here in West Virginia, and we've been talking about the weather, which is a lot of what you do in West Virginia. Next, I'd like to introduce to you Darlene Grieve. Darlene, did I say your last name correctly?
Yes, you did.
Okie doke. I just wanted to be sure. Darlene comes to us from the beautiful province of Manitoba. And Manitoba is where I saw the Northern Lights for the very first time in my life. They drugged me out in the middle of a pasture about 2 o'clock in the morning to watch them dance. It was just a beautiful, beautiful thing to see. Next we have Laura Whitbar. Laura comes to us now from North Carolina, though I believe you lived in one of the northern states, didn't you, Laura, before you moved to North Carolina?
Yes, I'm from New York.
From the state of New York, which was where IRD was going to be, had plans gone as we thought they probably would. We're so glad to have you here with us, Laura.
Thank you.
I think half of the state of West Virginia goes to your state every year for vacation because we're landlocked and they do have some pretty oceanfront property down in North Carolina. Last but by no means least is Pauline Hartfixin. And I remember the first time I met Pauline struggling with her last name. And I don't know if Pauline remembers it or not, but when I said it for the first time, she said, "I don't believe you got it right." I'm very sensitive to people's names. My last name only has 4 letters, but it gets mispronounced all the time. Usually I'm called by my last name as Caddy. And I usually tell people, no, I don't carry golf clubs. It's like Lady with a C. But Pauline lives in the beautiful state of Utah. If you have not had a chance yet to visit it, I put it high on your must-see list of states. It is absolutely amazing. And there is much to recommend the state of Utah. I've been through it and spent some time there and never get tired of it. So with that said, we'll get started here. I'm going to ask each of our guests today to tell you just a little bit about who they are and something about their top story. And Sandy, if you don't mind, we'll start with you.
Okay. Well, I moved to Michigan right after I graduated high school in West Virginia, Chapmanville, West Virginia. And I met my husband on a blind date, and 6 months later we got married. And we've been married for 55 years. So I guess it worked out okay. And when I moved to Michigan, my aunt was she belonged to TOPS, and she was a charter member of MI 431 Flint, and that is still the chapter that I belong to. And it has taken me years and years to get to my COP status, but I finally made it on April Fool's Day, 2019. April Fool's, I made it that day. And it has been, I've been doing wonderful ever since. As I started out with it, I didn't have any idea what my goal weight should be. because I had no idea what my body was going to react to. So since I got my status in April 2019, I have lowered my goal 3 times. So
Oh my
now,
goodness.
yes, I have a total of 135 pounds off to goal.
Yay.
So, and
Congratulations.
thank you. And it has been a struggle at times, but I've got myself set so that I eat what I want in small, small portions. And I try to get all my water in and my exercise also, like Laura does. We both walk. I don't know about the other gals, but last summer I was walking because of COVID. I couldn't go anywhere and do anything, so I walked. And I walked anywhere from 3 to 6 miles a day. And
Okay.
I can still continue to do that, not walking quite as much right now because it's too hot, but I do still continue to get my exercise. And I love working in my yard and my garden and my flowers and everything. And that's how I get a lot of my exercise in also.
Okay, thank you, Sandy.
You're welcome.
Darlene, how about you? Would you like to tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I actually joined TOPS in Saskatchewan, which is our next province over. And I was introduced to TOPS through my husband. And I don't know how, somehow in Regina, he ran across retreat director Cynthia Mack. And so she got him set up in a chapter and such. And personally, I thought this was just going to be another one of his we'll give this a try thing, and it won't stick, it won't work, etc. And he had success. He invited me to TOPS. I went to a chapter meeting, and they asked me to join, and I said no. I thought they were all, it was awards night, so they were all getting little trinkets, and they were all excited about them, and I thought, how stupid. But anyway, that was my introduction to TOPS. I did not like it, but move forward 8 months later, and we came to where we live now in Manitoba, and people were saying how great he looked and everything else. So I decided I needed maybe to join TOPS as well. And so I said to Don, I think I'll come to TOPS with you on Wednesday. He said, no, you're not. He decided that we shouldn't belong to the same chapter. And he was right, because we're very competitive. So he had me phone Cynthia. Cynthia set me up in a chapter, and away we went. So I joined in the end of August of 2007, and lost 37 pounds to goal by February, the end of February of 2008. And at our PRD in 2008, my husband was the provincial king, and Barb was there, and we were allowed to graduate together, and Barb turned our tassels over. And life was great, and Don and I continued on our journey. And to be honest, I didn't truly understand some of the challenges that you have along the journey, and some of the learnings that come along. Life went quite smoothly. And then in 2014, we moved back to Manitoba. And I had to find a new chapter, and things were unsettling, trying to find a new life and everything else. And 2015, another whammy hit. My husband was sick, and so on. And I lost my status. But I kept going to TOPS, never give up. I stayed within my upper leeway almost that entire year. I didn't have my status. I'd get within maybe 0.2, 0.4 of my goal, and I'd go up, right? I was scared, to be honest. I was scared I wouldn't be able to maintain. But I became, in those days, an area captain. And the then regional director, Brenda Nichols, said, Darlene, you need to get your status back, right? So it was just the sort of the kick that I needed. So August 10th of 2016, I regained my COP status. And especially in the last 15 months or so since COVID hit, there's been a lot of learnings over the time, and I've learned a lot about myself and also about other people, at how we react to all the stresses that we have in our life now. And it's been interesting learning about the self, but at the core of this is I've realized how precious our health is, and part of that is retaining a healthy weight. So I'm doing everything I can to hang on to maintaining that weight and keeping my COP status. It can
Thanks,
be.
Pauline. I appreciate it. Laura, how about you? Would you share a little bit?
I'm Laura Wickwar. I joined TOPS in 1997. A few years later, I reached my COP status, and things were good. And then I got a little bit lax, and I lost my COP status. And then in 2019, right before the pandemic hit, I decided this was going to be my year to do it again. And I did pretty good for the first 3 months of the year. And then for the rest of the time, I just focused on myself because I didn't really have a lot to do. So I regained my COP status in March of this year, and happy ever since.
Okay, thanks, Laura. I'll ask you a few more questions later on. Pauline, what do you have to contribute right at this particular moment about yourself?
Okay, this is hard. I joined TOPS in 1979, 42 years. And about in 85, I became an advocate. And then in 99, I became the coordinator. So I've been in TOPS and been active in TOPS for all those years, but yet still never, reaching my goal. I tried. I think now that I've pictured that I never would reach my goal, but in 2014, my son worked with me to set some goals. There was 15 of them, and they're very specific, and more than half of them were about my self-esteem. So I really think that was a big deal, right? A big deal in my problem in my life. I've been single for 40 years too. So, but low self-esteem. So I worked on those goals, and then I went to IRD, and a man that was talking there talked about, I don't know if I can say his name, but anyway, he talked about making my mind magnificent, and that my mind rules. And then I read somewhere that 90%, 90% of losing weight is in your mind. And all these things came up together. And so I all of a sudden decided to lose. I just adjusted my lifestyle is all I did. And I still eat the cake when we have cake, and but I exercise, and last year during COVID, I actually retired right during it. So therefore I had time to exercise and do what I wanted. And so it was really nice. And so I accomplished my goal just last year, in fact, December of 2020. And I think that's all.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I'll get back to you and find out some more things about it. One of the things that I'd like to ask all of you, and we'll go around again to share, is this last year was, as we all know, a really difficult year. What one takeaway have you learned during what can only be called our biggest challenging year, when you had to rely so much on yourself to self-motivate and keep focused in very unusual situations? Sandy, how about you? What's your one biggest takeaway?
Takeaway meaning what? I mean, exactly.
What lesson did you learn that you found most helpful after all these years to get you through what was a period of great change?
Well, what happened with me, I just finally got my head set that I needed to lose the weight. One of the problems was in 2008, I was at my highest weight at that time, and my husband had to have a kidney transplant. And I said he'd been taking care of me all these years, and I knew I had to take care of him because he was the one that was sick and I was just heavy and overweight. And so that gave me motivation. So I started losing weight gradually, like 20 pounds a year or so, down until I got towards the end, and then I finally reached my status. But knowing I had a husband that I loved dearly that I had to take care of, that gave me motivation to do something about myself.
Well, that's wonderful. And you broke it down into small, doable increments.
Yes,
You
definitely.
know, your weight
I
loss
did it
journey you said was 135 pounds. That's a long way down the road to look.
right, right.
But 20 pounds, to me,
So
looks much more manageable than.
Oh, that was my goal was, at IRD, if they gave us awards if we lost at least 20 pounds or however it was, and for several years there, I got awards at IRD because I was doing that.
I remember.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
How about you, Darlene? What is your biggest takeaway from this past year? You said that you had a lot of learnings.
Right. One of them was that I really need structure in my life. I'd always been a very busy person, right? Like Tuesday morning, I have to be in the city by 9 to go to my TOPS chapters. This day and this day at this day, I go to exercise classes. Like everything had its place and time, and it worked. And then COVID came and we were locked down, and like everyone else, and there was no more places to go. Couldn't even go out shopping much, right? And days flowed into the next day. Nothing happened. I joined some classes. They're up on YouTube, and they sent me the link, and I had 48 hours to do the class. The 48 hours passed, no class was completed. I didn't exercise, didn't do anything. I needed that schedule. So finally, I figured that out, and I joined a class that happened on a specific day at a certain time, and I had to show up. And that really helped me turn the corner. So I realized I needed to develop a new structure, new schedule for myself, right? So that things would happen as they should. And that meant, for example, in the mornings, by this time, I'm out, now that it's nice, walking. And I'm doing different things at specific times. And I mean, I've heard in our chapter, right, that, well, make a date with yourself. I never really understood that, but now I do. I need that structure in my life to be successful and to be happy, just so that I don't get stuck in the chair feeling sorry for myself.
Uh-huh. That's really good advice. How many of the rest of you, just to respond to Darlene's question and maybe expand on it a little bit more, felt that you lost structure last March when we had to go into a quarantine period? Any of the rest of you feel that sense of, well, what's next?
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
Okay. Laura, let's move to you. What is your biggest takeaway from this last year that we have just successfully completed? And congratulations to all of you for becoming and maintaining COP status during this challenging time.
I had been going to the gym probably for the past 20 something years, and the gym is my happy place. And having the gym close was really devastating for me. So I had to find an alternative to exercise, and also an alternative to having a place to go where I could just be alone and no one would bother me. And so I opted for the outdoors like Sandy, and I started on a journey, which now I'm on almost to day 500 of exercising every day. And I don't necessarily do a set amount of exercise, but I do at least 20 minutes of some type of exercise. Some days I'll walk for a half mile. Yesterday, my husband and I walked almost 3 miles. Sometimes I will do the bicycle indoor, stationary bicycle indoors, or the rower, or free weights. I have lots of options in my house, but I just found that I could make my own exercise. And just posting the pictures on Facebook of my journey and having people respond so positively really kept me going. So as opposed to having the face-to-face contact with my TOPS members as I have normally, because I'm the coordinator for North Carolina, I had people complimenting me on my exercise and my dedication and my pictures of my exercise. So that really kept me going.
Thanks, Laura. One of the things that I appreciated most, in especially your early post when you began your daily journey, was your candor and your honesty about how you felt about going out. Because she was not always a real happy camper about, going out. She said, well, I have to go out. I have to do this. I can't put it off. And that resonated with me, because sometimes you have to do the hard thing. Not what you want to do always, but the thing that you need to do to get you to where you want to be. And I really appreciated that message that you shared with all of us. And she posts beautiful, beautiful pictures. The landscape and the flowers are like Sandy when she walks. Beautiful things to see as they're walking about. Okay, Pauline, what about you? What was your biggest takeaway?
Probably just like Sandy and Laura, the exercising. I was able to get out. I went outdoors and walked and walked, and I really think that helped me a lot. A lot of people also commented on me saying that I was so highly, and I still am, highly motivated with exercise. But also along with that is, again, the self-esteem thing. I get up in the morning and I have an affirmation, is that what you call it? And I say it all the time to myself. And I pictured myself at my goal weight, and I worked towards that gradually. It took 6-7 years to get down there, but I gradually worked towards it, lost 108 pounds. So, and a quarter. But I really think that the self-talk helped a lot too, but being able to go on those walks alone and with people. I've got some friends that we would walk together, and that helped too. So it all combined everything. And
That's amazing, Pauline. You mentioned several times increasing your self-esteem, feeling that you're worth the effort it's going to take. And I think all 4 of you are doing that you really do believe that you're worth the effort to live your best life right now as you are. And it's not that you put it on hold until you reached your goal weight, but you made the decision as you began the journey at a definite point that you were worth the effort it was going to take. And that, I think, is really important for all of us to understand that right now, where we are, we have to decide to make the effort that we are, in fact, worth what it's going to take every single day. And Let me just ask you this one final question before we wrap up. And thank you. The time has just flown by. Sandy, what is one thing you do to help yourself get back on track if you ever mess up?
I weigh myself every morning. When I get up, I weigh myself every morning, and I can tell by that weight what I am in the morning, what I can have for the rest of the day.
Okay.
I gauge myself that way.
Okay.
I think it really helps. It really does.
Okay. Bear in mind, each of us needs to find what is the most helpful thing we can do for ourselves. And all four ladies are going to share with you their best tip. And hopefully in the messages that you're writing in the chat box, you will also share what tips you find help you the most when occasionally you mess up. I don't know about you, but I have been known to mess up really badly. And rather than say, oh, well, I blew the moment, I might as well just give up for today or just toss the whole week aside. It's important we know how to restart immediately rather than just say, oh, well. Darlene, what about you? What is the one thing you find most helpful to you when things aren't going exactly the way you have planned?
I find that the best thing that I can do is to say, okay, it's over, it's done, put it behind me and put my best foot forward. The other day, I had a Zoom meeting with a group, and the girl presenting said we could be in the green zone, the amber zone, or the red zone. And I think the key is to get back to that green zone as fast as you possibly can.
Okay, that's a nice visual. You caution, caution, Will Robinson. So it's time to turn around and get back to the green zone. Thank you, Darlene. Laura, what about you?
I find that if I cook my own food and eat my own food, that's a sure way to get back on track. I'm a good cook and I cook a lot, but I know what I'm cooking and I know what I put in it and I know what the portion sizes are. So for me, eating at home has really been helpful.
Okay. I think that was one of the takeaways I had was that I had spent my life for the past 20 years traveling all over creation and ate out a lot. And finally being at home and being in control of how the food was prepared was really, really helpful to me as well. How about you, Pauline? What's your biggest tip for getting back on track if you ever falter?
I really think that it's all been said by Sandy, Laura, and Darlene, but I just keep trying. I'd start all over, just like Darlene said, say, okay, today's a better day, and start off, and I do weigh myself, and then I try to eat the food that I prepare too. I mean, because you're right, eating out is bad, but those are all the things that I do too.
Okay. Well, thanks to all of you for taking the time to be with me this morning. I really appreciated it. I don't know that all of them formally introduce themselves with their role in TOPS, but all four ladies today, in addition to being COPs, are also coordinators. Working the plan with you every single day, going to their chapter meetings. Darlene, is your chapter open yet?
No, we're not.
Our Canadian members are really, really enduring a lot. Canada's restrictions have been quite rigid. And most of our Canadian chapters, I think, still are not able to meet. How about the rest of you? Are you back at your local chapters yet?
I am.
Good.
My chapter starts meeting tonight again.
Oh.
We were meeting, but
good.
then there was some, in the church we were in, they had some COVID. So the members were coming to my house and weighing in each week though.
Okay.
We just had our first meeting last Thursday.
Fantastic. This is encouraging as we get back to being able to go to meeting. How exciting that is to think about getting back to being able to see each other every week. You know, Darlene, I think of you and scheduling that meeting in there now. You know, what a happy time that's going to be for all of us. Well, everybody, thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing your time with me and the members of Empowering Each Other. And I'll let you go about your busy days. Thanks again.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.